Hello everybody, it's your non-binary pal Gracious E.V.A here, and welcome to Pride Month. It's Pride Month, and that means that I am going to be showing some art I made based off of Pride flags. Usually all of my artworks are very queer focused already, but for June I like to make artworks based specifically on different Pride flags. And this year I made two sets of artworks. The first artwork set that I'm going to be showing is a moral sort of different artworks I made based off of the trans flag. I did something similar to this last year with the non-binary flag, so I decided to do that again with the trans flag. So I made 5 artworks for each stripe. The first 2 artworks that I'm going to be showing are featuring 2 of my trans mask OCs, specifically Nick and Lai. Unfortunately, I made this before I redesigned him, so it's his old design, but yeah, that's still there. I drew Nick in a blue color palette. I did the same thing last year, and I'll explain it, where I drew the characters themselves in like a black, white, and gray monochromatic palette, and then the lighting and the colors all around them are the color of the flag that they are, the stripe of the flag that they're representing. So Nick is blue, and I showed the case that in the background, in the lighting, and on his top surgery scars, and on his eyes as well. And then for Lai, he represented pink, so because he's pink, he's always pink. So I did the same thing, just replaced all the areas that were blue for pink. And then I used Zach, who's non-binary, for the white stripe, since I believe that is what the white stripe is supposed to represent, and used a combination of pink and blue for the main lighting colors, while keeping the stripe in the background and some of the other background elements white to match the stripe that they're representing. And then for the last 2, I used 2 of my trans femme characters, specifically Celine and Haiku. So Celine also represented blue, and for Haiku, she represented pink as well. I had to add in some extra elements. I gave them some cool tattoos to be the extra element in color. And yeah, these were really fun to work on. In the background, I added like a cool like laurel thing with this brush that I had, and used that for all of them. Nick's artwork took a while longer because I kind of was creating all of these elements for the other pieces. And so yeah, after I created it for that one, I then just copied and pasted them over into the others, and then changed the colors up a bit, which is what I tend to do for these art series. So typically for art series like this, the first one always tends to take me a while longer. And this time too, I actually went in order of the actual stripe color. Yeah, last year for my non-binary colors, I just went in completely random order. I don't know what I was doing. I started with purple for some reason. But yeah, the shading colors as well were also done in the color of the next color that was going to be in the stripe. So for example, I shaded rendered Nick using a pinkish color, and then I shaded Lai with more of a bluish color, and then I forget for Zach, I think I just stuck to grays, but yeah, that was the pattern that I went for there. And I had planned for them to all go together, just like the trans pride flag. And you will be seeing all of that as the speed paint goes on. And as you can notice, I am not talking throughout the entirety of this, or a lot of this like I usually do, for time reasons. And yeah, so this is going to be more of a traditional classic speed paint video where there's not much talking over the majority of it, but I hope you enjoy. And then I will be jumping back in for the other set of artworks that I made, and I will be talking about those. Okay, so I was at this point that I was actually going to be showcasing a different set of artworks, but they didn't really fit the theme. It was these artworks, by the way, that I am going to be showing here right now, and I like them, but it didn't fit the theme super well of turning pride flags specifically into artworks for this. Obviously, they're very queer, as all my art is, but that was supposed to be the theme for this video, and they didn't really fit. So I will be saving the speed paint of those for another time with another speed paint compilation, which is kind of unthemed, and showcase a couple of other artworks instead that match the theme a lot better. Starting off with this one, which is a wallpaper design that I plan to be my new desktop background. I like to draw myself new desktop backgrounds every year or so. I'm not sure if I'll stick to this one just because when I tested it, the composition didn't fit quite how I wanted it to. But if you want to use it as your desktop background, feel free to. That'd be cool. But this is based off of a kind of unknown identity. Is based off of the Ace Flux flag and the Arrow Flux flag, which are identities under, of course, the Ace and Arrow identities. The reason why I went with this is because I am almost 99% sure that's what I am, which is great because I've been struggling with that for many years, and learning that that's the thing made me realize, oh hey, that kind of just perfectly explains everything. So yeah, if you don't know what it is, it's kind of in the name. It's whether you're Ace or Arrow, it fluctuates between being either fully Ace or Arrow and more allo sexual or allo romantic. It can also mean fluctuating between different identities in the spectrum, like cupiosexual, egosexual, and then romantic versions of that, obviously, and tons more. I would recommend looking it up. And on top of that, when I figured out what the flags were, I thought, oh wow, I want to make art of this because the flags are so pretty. They have such a pretty color palette. The romantic flag looks so, like, it's got watermelon vibes, which I love, and then the Ace Flux is like very just like pink and purpley, and I love it. So I wanted to make art out of those because I really love the color palette. And for this, I decided to use my character Leo, who is I have also always had on the Ace spectrum. I just used Leo, but I did two different versions of them on either side of the canvas. And I planned for it to be the one Leo would be completely purple and pink, but with hints of green, obviously in the eye and their flower eye thing. And then for the other one, obviously the other Leo would be all green and pink with purple eye and flower eyes. Working on their outfits coloring wise ended up being interesting because the both flags share pink, so both of them kind of have a lot of dark pink elements and medium pink elements, with really the only differentiating thing being their signature colors. And then for their hair is a really light color, almost white color, and then added their signature color into their hair streak and hair fade thing. And for the background, obviously I made it look very stripy, very wavy. I didn't try to make it super symmetrical, but I do still like it. Added a cool outline effect on the stripes, and then added some flowers and hearts everywhere. This was very fun to work on. The canvas is a lot bigger because it's supposed to be a desktop background, and yeah, I'm just really happy with this, and I'm happy to make art with these flags because they're very pretty. These two are going to be based off of the rainbow flag. This one is my classic everything is gray and monochromatic except for the thing I want to be in focus, that is in full color thing. I love doing that in a lot of my artworks, and it was fitting here. I had this composition in mind for a while, so I decided to use it and thought it would be perfect for this video. It's a character with a halo around their head. I like doing that. That's fun. That's a thing I do in my designs a lot. And I used my character Chris because he's the most close to being an angel. While working on this, I actually didn't have rainbow in mind when I was working on it, so I had a bit of a hard time choosing on the color, but then I came up with doing the rainbow thing, and I actually did that in a couple of different ways, but you'll see in a little bit. I kept the background super simple, just black with like these like white hatch mark things, and the rendering was also super simple but really fun. I actually do like working in grayscale like this, especially with my newer style, new-ish style, which involves a lot more overpainting and a lot more cleaning up, and yeah, it was really fun painting in grayscale for this one. And when I got to the halo, I drew it very like droopy and didn't add too much detail to it. I didn't even shade it. I was planning, I was debating whether I wanted to do that, but I didn't end up doing that. And rather than adding the color of the lights of the halo onto Chris in the rendering itself, I just added well, it was an anaglow layer at first, but I changed it to just be a normal layer on top. And the reason why I did this is because I did multiple different versions. So the first version is the image version, which is just a nice rainbow gradient. And then the second version is a GIF of the halo changing between all the colors from red to purple. Yeah, fun to work on. This was actually fairly simple to work on. It was just the animated part that kind of made it more difficult, but that was just because of my computer being slow. So there we go. This final one is a bit more of a chiller one, kind of more of a sketch, but not really, because I did still put just quite a bit of time into it. It's of my character Aries in this outfit that I thought would be fun and flirty and like very queer, of course. And then I just decided to use rainbow colors for it, so it ended up fitting this theme. I went with very light colors for the rainbow. I played around a lot more with this one. I used a different brush, a new brush that I had been playing around with beforehand, and I really liked it. I just had to change the settings a little bit so I can get a little more pressure sensitivity with it, but once I did that, it was great. So I might start using this brush a bit more in the future because it's really nice. And then because of how the brush is, I changed around with how I filled in the colors. Instead of just using the bucket tool, I actually went in and colored like the silhouette or traced the silhouette, and then I used a more painterly brush to add in the base colors over top of it. I really like how this turned out. It makes it look very painterly. I was able to use this to add a blend effect in the hair to make that gradient, and yeah, very fun. Probably won't do this with all my drawings, but it is a new style that I can play around with, and I do like finding new styles because that's fun. thank you so much for watching. This was really fun. I know I didn't talk too much in the first half, but because I made that before a thing I had to do, but then I was able to come back and then do this one. So yeah, but I was still able to get all the information that I wanted out there about how I did all these, and I'm happy with how all these turned out. So yeah, and that is going to be all from me. I will see you in the next video.